God bless. The wizard finally made it back to his sailboat that evening. The marina was quiet, the sun slipping down behind the trees, leaving orange streaks across the water. The boat rocked gently in its slip as the wizard stepped aboard and set his bag down. It had been one of those days. Appointments. Lost objects. Car troubles. Family conversations. Medical visits. Long discussions with people he loved. Nothing terrible had happened, but everything had happened at once. The wizard sat down in the cockpit chair and exhaled slowly. Well, he said to the universe, that was a full day. Clearing the mind, the wizard had learned something important over the years. When the mind became crowded with too many thoughts, the best medicine was water and silence. The sailboat had always been his reset button. Out on the water, the world seemed simpler. The wizard poured a small cup of coffee and watched the reflections of the marina lights ripple across the surface. As his mind settled, his thoughts drifted toward something he had been hearing more frequently lately. Talk of July 4th. But not just the usual fireworks and celebrations. Some people were talking about a new republic. The family story. The wizard's thoughts drifted further back, to stories told around family tables when he was younger. His grandmother and mother had occasionally spoken about an ancestor named Henry Wissner. According to family lore, Wissner had been involved with early revolutionary efforts during the American struggle for independence from Britain. Historical records confirm that Henry Wissner of New York did indeed participate in early Continental Congress discussions and help support the revolutionary cause, including the manufacturing of gunpowder supplies for the colonial forces. The wizard had always found the story fascinating. Not because it made his family special, but because it reminded him how fragile the founding of a nation really was. The early patriots were not superheroes. They were farmers, merchants, lawyers, inventors, people trying to build something better. The modern debate now, centuries later, new debates about the structure of government were appearing again. One movement the wizard had recently researched was the Convention of States Project. This effort seeks to use Article 5 of the U.S. Constitution to allow states to propose amendments that might address concerns such as federal spending limits, term limits for federal officials, limits on federal regulatory authority. The idea is controversial. Supporters believe it could restore balance between state and federal power. Critics worry that a convention could produce unpredictable constitutional changes. The wizard understood both sides. Democracy had always involved debate. Rumors and alternative claims alongside legitimate civic discussions. The wizard had also noticed something else spreading online. Claims about parallel systems of law enforcement or alternative constitutional authorities. For example, the text he had read about something called the Continental Marshals Service. According to that document, this organization claimed to act as a volunteer peacekeeping force enforcing law of the land authority. However, the wizard's research also showed something important. There is no recognized governmental authority in the United States called the Continental Marshals Service that replaces the official United States Marshals Service. The official U.S. Marshals Service remains the federal agency responsible for many interstate law enforcement duties. The wizard wrote in his notebook, "In times of political uncertainty, many groups create alternative explanations of authority." Understanding the difference between official institutions and independent movements was important. The financial storm. Another set of discussions swirling across the internet involved financial systems. People were debating government debt levels, banking reserves, cryptocurrency systems, silver and gold markets. Some discussions mentioned ideas such as NESARA and GESARA, acronyms used in Internet theories about sweeping financial resets and debt forgiveness. The Wizard researched those claims carefully. Most economists and historians consider these ideas unsubstantiated conspiracy theories, not actual enacted policies. But the Wizard also understood why people were drawn to them. Many citizens felt frustrated with financial systems they did not fully understand. And when systems feel complicated or unfair, people search for explanations. The peace movement. Despite all the rumors and speculation, the Wizard noticed something encouraging. Around the world there were growing conversations about peace. Diplomatic negotiations. Public protests against war. Calls for cooperation rather than conflict. Even military organizations were increasingly discussing international coordination in areas like disaster response, humanitarian aid, space monitoring. The Wizard was especially interested in the emergence of the United States Space Force. Not because of secret time travel rumors, but because it represented humanity's expanding presence in space. Disclosure and curiosity. Another topic appearing frequently online involved UAP disclosure, discussions about unidentified aerial phenomena. Government agencies had slowly begun releasing reports acknowledging that some aerial observations remained unexplained. Researchers and journalists were exploring these topics more openly. The Wizard welcomed that transparency. Curiosity should not be feared, but speculation should always be balanced with evidence. The Wizard's philosophy. The Wizard leaned back and watched a fish jump in the water beside the dock. He realized something simple. Human history always moves through cycles: confusion, discovery, reform, renewal. Sometimes the process looks messy. Truth rarely appears all at once. Often it emerges slowly as old systems evolve and new ideas take shape. The 4th of July reflection. The Wizard looked toward the horizon and imagined the coming 4th of July. Fireworks. Flags. Families gathering. Barbecues. But also something deeper. The anniversary of a moment when ordinary people decided to try something bold. Self-government. Liberty. Responsibility. Those ideas had always required constant work. No generation inherited a perfect system. Each generation had to improve it. The Wizard's final thought. The Wizard finished his coffee and closed his notebook. So many rumors. So many theories. So many predictions about the future. But the Wizard believed the most powerful change always began with something simple. Citizens thinking clearly. Communities working together. And people remembering that freedom was not something granted by secret forces or hidden programs. It was something built daily by those willing to care for their neighbors and their country. The Wizard smiled at the quiet marina. "Here's to the Republic," he said softly. And the boat rocked gently as the evening stars appeared. God bless.